May I have your attention, please? We delivered your meals outside your room.
Hey guys, it's Wes. As some of you probably know from my past videos, I was traveling around Europe for 7 months straight and came back to my home country Japan temporarily at the end of February. But the entry process in the quarantine in Japan was way more strict than any European countries I've been to during my travels, so I'm gonna share my experience with all of you. Let's get started. I was staying in Azerbaijan when I got on the plane to Japan. Most European countries only needed a vaccination certificate for entry, and there was no quarantine necessary, so I didn't have any trouble traveling around Europe. I had limited time in each place, so I wanted to spend most of that time sightseeing. But in order to enter Japan, there was some paperwork that I had to get done in advance. Before I show you the documents I had to prepare, if you're thinking of coming to Japan, please know that I recorded this back in February, so you are well advised to check the latest official information for the entry process. First, I had to fill in a pledge about use of public transportation, quarantine at home and hotel, agreement to share my location information, and so on. If I violated this pledge, my name, nationality, and other information could be publicized, so it was important to understand the condition. Also, I had to fill in another document which was questionnaire about my vaccination status and health condition. The tricky thing about these documents is that I needed to download them from the official website, print them out, and fill in the papers. In Japan, a lot of organizations, especially administrative ones, still often require paper documents for some reason, and that always annoys me. But during this process, I had to submit some information not only on paper but online as well. I needed to provide contact information such as my email address and the phone number on the website. With all these documents filled, was I ready to go to Japan? Not yet. Even though I was vaccinated, everyone was required to take a PCR test before entry. They had strict criteria for the specimens and specific testing methods, so please check carefully. In addition, I had to install an app to share my location and health condition during quarantine. After all these things were completed, I was finally ready to fly to Japan. Once arrived at the airport in Japan, I took a PCR test again, and then the staff checked all of my documents. Unfortunately, I was not allowed to record the process at the airport, but I'm gonna explain what it was like. As a first step, I took a PCR test at the airport, but it was a saliva test, which I had never done before. At first, I was glad that it was not the one that sticks a swab into your nose because I hate it. For the saliva test, I just had to spit in a small container they gave me, but the amount of saliva they needed was more than expected. There is a line on the container that shows you how much you have to spit in it, but I just got out from the long flight and my mouth was dried out like a desert. Once I thought I had done enough, I handed a container to the staff, but they returned it to me saying that the amount was not enough. So I think I spent 5 to 7 minutes there just trying to extract the saliva from my dried out mouth. After submitting the specimen and before the result came, the staff checked my documents. The checking process was so long, the same documents were double or even triple checked by different staff. I honestly wasn't sure if it was the most efficient process. There was even a staff to check if there was a GPS on my smartphone, so their app would work properly during quarantine. After all the documents were checked, if the PCR test result was negative, I could finally be sent to my quarantine hotel by bus. The whole process at the airport took 2 or 3 hours. Hey guys, I arrived at this hotel last night, so this is my first day of the quarantine in this hotel. And this is what the room looks like. It's not that bad. My friend who was in quarantine told me that his room was too small to open his suitcase. So yeah, I would say this room is much bigger than I expected. I guess I was just lucky to get this room because there are several hotels for people who need to be quarantined. The hotel where I did my quarantine was located in the Shinbashi area in Tokyo. They had all of the usual amenities and a bathtub, which I was really missing after being away from Japan for 7 months. I thought I would feel trapped in the hotel room during the 3-day quarantine, but actually it was fine because the room was not too small and the room had a big window through which I could see the business area in Shimbashi, trains, and even Tokyo Tower. But at mealtimes, I feel like I was living in a futuristic controlled society from a sci-fi movie.
May I have your attention, please? We delivered your meals outside your room. Please wear a mask and be careful absent-mindedly not to lock yourself out of your room, with key left inside. Thank you.
I wasn't allowed to step out of the room during quarantine. I could only open the door at mealtime to take my food. The meals were typical Japanese bento boxes. Although I say typical, for someone who just came back to Japan and hadn't had real Japanese food for a while, they tasted so good. They also have vegan meals for people who can't eat meat. After eating, I was instructed to leave the empty container outside the door. I didn't use it, but if necessary, I was allowed to order delivery food. The hotel also offers other room services such as a laundry service. During quarantine, I had to check my temperature and report it on a website with my health conditions. I also had to send a location information by GPS a few times a day through the app I downloaded in advance. The app called me randomly once a day, and when I answered it, AI analyzed your face in the background to make sure that I was staying at the same place. Other than these daily tasks, I was completely free, so I just spent 3 days working on my laptop and chilling in bed. On the morning of the last day of the quarantine at the hotel, I took a saliva PCR test again. So this is my last day of the quarantine in this hotel. If the result of the PCR test I took this morning is negative, I'm leaving here in an hour and going back to the airport. Luckily, it was negative, so I packed my stuff and we went back to the airport by bus. I was finally allowed to go back home from there. However, the quarantine was not over yet. I had to spend 4 more days at home. You know, although I can't go out for the next few days, it feels so good to be back home because I've been away for months. I still had to report my health conditions and location every day during home quarantine as well. I went through the remaining quarantine, spending it making another YouTube video and working. This is what entry process and quarantine is like in Japan. As I said at the beginning, I recorded this at the end of February, so if you are planning on coming to Japan, please check the latest official information. And now that I'm in Japan, I will start posting travel vlogs of Japan from next week, so stay tuned for them. After a couple of months, I'm actually going to another country, but I won't tell you what it is now. I'll let you know in a future video, so look forward to that too. And if you want to see more travel vlogs like this, please thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, bye!